In this episode, we cross another state line, take a major tour-changing decision, and visit the oldest international airport on the continent. After our glorious stay in Kakadu, we travelled 300 kilometres south to base ourselves in the town of Catherine. Then we travelled deep into the Nitmiluk National Park, which is home to the stunning Catherine Gorge, where we took another boat tour. The river carves its way through the sandstone escarpment that marks the edge of Arnhem Land. As it descends through the landscape, it forms waterfalls and rapids that divide the river into sections. Boat tours usually encompass the first 3 sections of the river, but due to the unusually high rainfall in the wet season, only the lower section was open when we were there. The reason for this is that despite being over 400 kilometres from the coast, the recent high water levels allowed higher than normal numbers of saltwater crocodiles into the gorge. Consequently, the annual project of clearing the waterways of these tourist salties has rendered only the lower section clear. Nevertheless, we had some glorious views all the way up to the first cataract, where we disembarked and were treated to a great explanation of wall art techniques. The reds and yellows are produced by different types of ochre that penetrate the rock to a depth of over 5 millimeters, so they essentially tattoo the stone. Those colours can last for thousands of years, even in exposed locations, while the pigments used to create black and white are more easily weathered and generally survive best under the overhangs. Some of the art is also cautionary, warning of bad spirits or other dangers. Those are the pieces that are generally marked for not photographing, and there were plenty of those in Kakadu. Once we'd finished at Catherine Gorge, we continued another 70 kilometres along the escarpment to Edith Falls, which features 3 waterfalls with associated pools and a reasonably challenging climb up the broken rock face. But the upper pool was definitely worth it, and something of a magnet for those attracted to a wild swim. And of course, it wouldn't be a show without punch. So, what you got to say about Edith Falls?
Yeah. Edith Falls, well worth the climb. It's a level 4 walk to get here. It was really scrambling over rocks most of the way. My iPhone tells me we've climbed 21 floors, but oh God, goodness, it is just stunning. So there's a waterfall at the top feeding the upper pool where you can swim. Then that goes down into the middle pool where you're told not to swim. and then down into the very lower pool. Now the lower pool, normally you can swim there, but at the moment, because the water levels have been so high, they haven't finished doing all of their surveys for saltwater crocodiles, basically. So whilst they've cleared the upper pool, I imagine that they haven't fully cleared the other two pools. They don't allow you to swim in the middle pool anyway. Presumably that's because it's not safe for other reasons. But the lower pool, they've fenced off a little bit of it, so you can just have a little dip. That's not very far from the car park, so it's an easy walk. The upper pool where we've been and where Mark swam and I paddled because I forgot my bathers, that's about 1.6k, basically scrambling over rocks all the way, and most of it in the heat of the midday sun. So we're just on our way down now. It's a shorter walk on the way down. We're still scrambling, but it's been fun, and it's just so beautiful, absolutely gorgeous scenery. The pool is wonderful, lovely temperature, and yeah, it's gorgeous. Would you agree?
What she said. And on that bombshell, it's back to the studio.
And on the way home, I couldn't resist finally talking about something we've seen many times across thousands of kilometres of travel.
Here we are. These rock formations appear all over the top end. We've seen them in Carragini, up into the Kimberley, into the Northern Territory now, and you have these kind of slabs, and then on top of them there's this, I don't know, 20-ton block of stone that looks like a marble, and they're dotted all over the place, and it clearly is not the case that the locals are wandering around with JCBs putting these things in just for a giggle. But we have no idea how these formations occur. So I didn't intend to do this to try and bring any enlightenment. It's really just a case of saying, look at these things, they're everywhere, and we have no idea how they form. So if anyone's got any ideas, put it in the comments, email us, but we're out of ideas on it.
Then it was time to move again. We enjoyed our few nights in Catherine and stayed at the Catherine Discovery Park's caravan site. Great pictures, well established and shaded sites with a good on-site restaurant and bar. Again, it drops half a mark for the tired facilities, which does seem to be something of a fashion around the top end, but overall a lovely stay and 4.5 out of 5. But then came the biggest decision of the entire trip.
Right, here we are at a place called Mataranka, and this is kind of significant because this is a bit of a fork in the road for us. The original plan had been to come on the route that we have followed so far, and at Mataranka, which is on the Stuart Highway heading south towards Alice Springs, but at Mataranka right here we were due to turn left and head east to Roper Bar, and then skirt round to the Limmin National Park, to Borroloola, which is pretty much on the coast of the Gulf of Carpentaria, and then down across the savannah down into Queensland, along a route called the Savannah Way. Quite a lot of that is off-road on unsealed roads and corrugations and so on, but takes you all the way through the savannah lands of the Northern Territories, and that was the plan.
We had planned to take 1.5 weeks driving steadily across the savannah via Limmen, Borroloola, Hell's Gate, Burketown and coming out at Normanton. 2 months into the dry season, the flood rivers that carry monsoon rains into the Gulf of Carpentaria and are often a mile or two across at their peak have usually dried to the point that a caravan can reasonably tackle the route.
The problem that we have is that the wet season that we've just come out of was so wet that actually quite a lot of the shallow wet season rivers that flow across the savannah are still in flow, and so there are some significant water crossings, and the advice really is that we shouldn't be taking a rig of this size down that road. And just to give you an idea of how much rain there has been, we're in the early part of the dry season, but at the height of the wet season in Catherine, the Catherine River comes through a gorge which is right next to the town. That gorge is incredibly deep, and at the height of the wet season that river is normally 12 metres higher than it is during the dry. The highest ever recorded level was 20.4 metres above the dry level, and that was recorded in 1998, and in fact the whole of Catherine flooded. This wet season, just gone, it reached 19.2 metres, and there were quite a lot of buildings in Catherine were flooded. So it is one of the highest levels that river has ever reached. It gives you an indication of just how much water has fallen in the Northern Territories this wet season, and the water levels are accordingly still very high, which is why the advice really is not to be going down the Savannah Way with a 6.5 ton rig. So instead we're going to stay on the main road. We're going to be driving another 500 kilometres south as far as Tennant's Creek, where we'll then be turning left and heading east to Mount Isa City and Queensland. So this is the fork in the road. The adventure down the Savannah Way is going to have to wait for another trip, and instead we're just going to shoot on through the Northern Territory and into Queensland along the tarmac road.
So our first day was a relatively relaxed jump of 350 kilometres to the quirky wayside stop of Daly Waters.
Here we are at Daly Waters, population 55, but I have to say that there must be more than 200 caravans or campers or whatever here as well. So it's a bit of a kind of central stopping off point for all kinds of grey nomads coming through the Northern Territories. There's all kinds of quirky memorabilia that you can see lined up along the road here. When we arrived at about 2 o'clock, the place was heaving. There were caravans backed up all over the place. The caravan park itself is here. It's all centred around the pub, the Daly Waters pub, which is a bit of a landmark. They have their own camping ground behind the pub. So you drive in, you have to go into the pub to get to pay for your pitch. There's no pre-booking, you just turn up and you pay for your pitch on arrival. We've got a powered site, it's $45 for the night. The water is borehole water, so it's not advised you drink it. We did actually fill one of our water tanks up before we left Catherine, so we're all good to go with water. So I would advise you do that if you're thinking of staying here. But otherwise, it's quirky, but has a really nice feel to it. Now you may notice from some of the footage there's quite a lot of bits of old aircraft and helicopters and so on. So the obvious question is, well, why is this pub right in the middle of the outback? Why has it got all of this aircraft paraphernalia lying around? And the answer is that there is a Daily Waters airstrip, and back in the day it was the airstrip that Qantas used to refuel its planes on the route out to Southeast Asia, I think to Singapore. And so the residents here proudly declare, and probably they are technically correct, that this is the site of Australia's first international airport. So there we are, Daily Waters, population 55, an international aviation hub.
This place is difficult to categorise. For a roadhouse in the middle of nowhere, it does remarkably well. It's cheap at $45 for power, but as mentioned, you need to bring your own water. The facilities are mobile units, and altogether they do a great job for being so remote. We scored it 4 out of 5, and probably a recommendation just for the iconic experience. You do get the feeling you're not a fully paid up member of the Grey Nomad Club until you've been. And we certainly didn't expect this. Then we drove along this for 400 kilometres. Before turning left and driving 200 kilometres more through slightly more grassy land to bring us to Barclay Homestead. Now this was something of a shock. You're literally hundreds of kilometres from anywhere, and you come upon this strange oasis of civilization. Barclay is completely set up for the tired traveller pulling in for one night to break a 1200 kilometre journey. Power and potable water, and half of the rigs here didn't even bother unhooking their cars. It's a 5 out of 5, and you'd be daft to stay anywhere else. Then off again, until we were driving through grass as far as the eye could see for another 300 kilometres. And then the state border. This was the first time either of us had stepped foot in Queensland. And the grasslands went on and on, this time with a few roadside trees, until we finally arrived at our destination, Cloncurry. Here we are in Cloncurry. We've done 1400 kilometres over the last 3 days, endless kilometre after kilometre of grassland, not much else, but we have finally made it to Queensland, and we're looking forward to exploring this, but in the meantime it's a well-earned beer. Join us next time when we slow down and explore the outback of far north Queensland.